Hello my grandbabies, Don here, your pop culture boy, aka your pop culture consultant. If there is one thing that is apparent in today's society, it is how chronically online we all are. Being engrossed with what's happening on different social media apps, just doom scrolling, increasing our on-screen activities, and adding to productive or non-productive online discourse. One of these discourses that's taken over social media is the "you came out of nowhere" discourse, in response to artists who seem to all of a sudden catapult to the top of the fame totem pole.
You just came from anywhere.
And according to the pushers of that rhetoric, these acts had no significant digital footprint that justifies these quote-unquote new acts' newfound fame, which is done to discredit said acts' achievements as manufactured, when in fact, all artists are manufactured. So for this video, let's explore the layers of the "you came out of nowhere" discourse. Why is the statement thrown around to discredit today's upcoming artists, when this has been happening since the dawn of time with no pushback? And how do these conversations change the paradigms of artist discovery? I'm Donnie Pop Culture Boy, let's get into it.
Catastrophic.
There's nothing wrong with the "you came out of nowhere" phrase. Hey, I say it too, but the problem I have with the phrase is that it mainly gets tossed around when an artist gets awards or high chart achievements over more seasoned acts that are loved by many, or just for the mere fact that an artist is getting popular. An artist this overwhelmingly happens to is Tyla. Again, there is nothing wrong with the phrase, but there was clearly a sense of, why is she getting recognition in the case of Tyla? Now, did Tyla blow up relatively quick? Absolutely, but that's not her fault, as it's her fans and haters that made her famous. While there were people who genuinely did not know who she was at the time of her breakthrough, i.e. after being thrust into the international limelight as a result of her song Water, which impacted the Billboard Hot 100 in 2023, peaking at number 7, it was mainly Americans who she got the sentiments from, which I understood as she is from South Africa, which is a different country on a different continent with a completely different culture. Also, Tyla was a new artist, as she started her career in 2019 after leaving high school, releasing her debut single, Getting Late, that same year. But yeah, some people were genuinely wondering who she was, which this video is not directed at, while on the other hand, others used the phrase to start a suspicion side quest, which led to her being labeled an industry plant, a given at this point, which also implied she was a payola princess. Now, is it possible her team paid for streams, radio plays, etc.? Sure, but there is no proof that support these claims. That aside, even if an artist pays for streams, the whole 9 yards, they still need the support of the public to experience longevity on the charts.
Wanna know something? When I first did that record, I was playing around, and my manager thought that that record was very commercial, and for my own money, I paid $60,000 so they could, try to play it on the radio, on mix shows, and it still didn't went nowhere.
That was Cardi B explaining that you can try to manipulate the radio, but at the end of the day, you need the support of the people carrying your music. A lot of these major artists will not say this, but in their promotions, there's a budget set aside for radio. They pay for radio plays under the guise of ads, but also, the radio has a duty to play what the people want to hear as well. So, paying for shit can only take you so far. Back to Tyla. Like Doji, who recently got the "she came out of nowhere" comments after winning a Grammy, Tyla got the same reaction as well. Watch this.
You just came from anywhere. And so is the other girl, give me sweat, whatever, make me hot.
Not Tyla. Come on, that sounds like just a little bitty girl who they wrote some songs for. And damn, not Tyla.
Plants. Give her, watch this. What's this? March, February next year, Cold Blooded Freak.
Damn.
Turned all the way out. Watch. One song gave you a Grammy, but you got people like Angie Stone, they've been around since I was 10 years old, being a rapper, never got one.
Hey.
How's that possible? You walk right in, the song's still on the fucking radio hot, you got a Grammy. How do they do that?
That's true.
How do you get that? How did they even do a audit on it, or what you call it? No, you can't.
Yeah,
that's
you're
crazy.
Right. So industry plants exist.
I just named it.
When people say these things, it's mainly said because they feel like someone else is deserving of the accolades. Like Black China's mom said, how did Tyla win a Grammy while Angie Stone hasn't? Mind you, Angie Stone, rest in peace, and Tyla are completely different. Angie is mainly R&B/soul, while Tyla won in the category of Best African Music Performance, and Angie Stone was an American. Tyla is definitely an industry plant. If it was about music and music skills, she'd never be Africa's female representative. Tems would represent Africa, and even she is already mainstream. Says this comment under a different video regarding Tyla. That also tells us these phrases are rooted in undeservingness, pertaining to someone's perception, seeing they mentioned another artist, in this case Tems, saying Tems deserves what Tyla has. Now, I'm not South African, but to my South Africans, are people actually saying this? Are people actually saying that Tyla is the representative for South Africa? Let me know. In most cases, the "you came out of nowhere" online discourse only tries to enforce that artists should become famous a certain way, and if said artist doesn't fit that mold, then here comes a statement and other stigmas attached that imply they aren't real artists and shouldn't be celebrated. This rings true for artist Shaboozey as well, as many thought he came out of nowhere with his chart-dominating single, a bar song, Tipsy, which spent 19 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, tying with Lil Nas X's Old Town Road for the longest time spent at number 1 on the chart. Now, unlike Tyla, Shaboozey has been trying to catch his big break since the mid-10s, seeing he released his first single, a track titled Jeff Gordon, in 2014. Now here's the thing, being a performing artist wasn't Shaboozey's only strategy in becoming a major act. In 2016, he signed a recording, co-publishing, and ancillary rights agreement with Terrence Sheldon, DBA Homeless Records, assigned to Crescendo Entertainment, a division of Republic Records, in September 2017. And in 2014, he founded a production company called V Picture Films in order to pursue a career in writing, producing, and directing. While under the deal he signed in 2016, he released his debut studio album, 2018's Lady Wrangler, which incorporates a blend of hip-hop, country blues, rock, and Americana elements. On that album, he blends a lot of different genres. I think I even hear a little Afrobeat. It's not perfect, but a good attempt for a first LP. Connoisseur. In 2022, Shaboozey released his second album, Cowboys Live Forever, Outlaws Never Die, under Empire. Like his debut album, his second follows the similar themes of Americana, but is more hip-hop rodeo heavy. All in all, before releasing a bar song Tipsy, collaborating with Beyonce on her Cowboy Carter album, Homeboy has been here a very long time. People just weren't paying attention. Now, this is my little take, but I think after 2020, audiences have been way more suspicious of artists' rise and claims to fame, and it's become a hobby per se, or another activity to do as a music listener or online user. And the implications it's having on labels and artists is that they have to now be very careful how they introduce these artists or themselves, which is futile because audiences are more fickle. And a lot of these things are simply based off trends or who is liked and who's not. Nevertheless, artists are doing everything to detach or avoid these destructive stigmas altogether. Jaden and Willow Smith are both rich. They come from money, but they present themselves as low-key and alt as possible to dodge stigmas like nipple baby, which they are, and nothing is wrong with that. If you can remember when Willow debuted, she was following the pop star blueprint with Whip My Hair back in 2010. Her promotion was on par with most pop stars then, but she has now switched to more of a low-key rock star image. Willow removed Smith from her name to disassociate as much as possible, which has paid off for her in my opinion, but in contrast with her brother Jaden, who also dropped Smith as well, because he's still an actor, he still uses it for that side of the industry, as most actors have two names. First and last name, like everybody else. And there aren't too many actors without a last name, as it's kind of weird. So people look at Jaden and still see his incredibly famous parents, Will and Jada, especially Will, who is like an image of, perfection, or maybe that image has crumbled a bit, but still we see Will as like perfect, put together. Hence, nobody really takes Jaden as a serious musician. There is this artist called Gracie Abrams whose popularity took off in a major way last year with her second album, The Secret of Us. I did describe her music as very Taylor Swift-esque, with her cadence and songwriting being very similar. Gracie is a nepo baby as well. Her father is J.J. Abrams, the famous film producer and composer. He's worked on many films that includes the Star Trek franchise, And according to his Wikipedia, he's the 10th highest grossing film director of all time. But his daughter is releasing indie pop music to seem as DIY as possible. Now, me being your pop culture grandpa, aka your pop culture whore, OnlyFans coming soon. It is my duty to look into these matters that are essential for a healthy digestion. Hate that word. While making this video, I've cracked the code as to why these shady/discrediting sayings like "you came out of nowhere" are used to signal that something is not right with emerging artists on the internet. Remember, at the start of this video, I was blabbering about how everyone is chronically online, making us all more bold in voicing our opinions, even when we shouldn't, which I'm also guilty of. Prior to the internet boom, if you had a problem with someone and acted on those impulses, it might trigger real-life consequence. But on the net, there are rarely any consequences, causing people to become online trolls or even more bold in broadcasting their unfiltered thoughts. Also, with the formation of parasocial relationships online, audiences now feel this sense of closeness to artists, celebrities in general, even the ones they don't like, as their comments are shared around the world, which can form echo chambers, which only adds to the cycle of always calling out artists. However, to play devil's advocate, some of these new artists lack substance when compared to debuting artists of the past. Back in the day, people did refer to certain acts as overnight success, but it wasn't used like a dig. No one was asking why Elvis debuted out of nowhere, getting pushed, performing at different shows, impacting the charts, and dancing like a black man. Chuck Berry. No, people accepted the fact that, okay, here's a new artist to entertain us. Now, dance. The catalyst that sparked the overnight success discourse with a negative sentiment is because of a recent rise of a few Gen Z and millennial artists. These artists experienced colossal fame that we haven't seen with debuting/new artists in a while. And these artists popped off one after the other. I'll say starting from 2018 to present times, prolonging the conversation of where the fuck did she come from. These acts include Lil Nas X, Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan, Doechii, Victoria Monet, all of whom I've covered on this channel. Other acts who continued the conversation of "you came out of nowhere" are Benson Boone. People were like, Benson Boone, who the fuck is Benson Boone? That sounds like a cartoon. He's not a real person. Bruh. The internet is ruthless. But then again, some of y'all say I'm ruthless, which I strongly disagree with. Or, now to be fair, Benson is new, but nothing is wrong with that, as everyone who gets famous gets there in a different way and has to start from somewhere. Also, Shaboozey, who is featured in this video, and Teddy Swims. A lot of us forget that the phenomenon of late bloomers or the perceived overnight success of it all has been occurring since the dawn of time, and it isn't a big deal like some of us think it is. Bill Withers. Bill Withers is a legendary R&B soul singer who has an interesting story that shares similarities with rising stars of today. This man has timeless hits and a killer voice that commands attention. Some of his hits includes Ain't No Sunshine, Lean On Me, and Just the Two of Us. With hits like these, you'd think he had one of the most smooth sailing career paths. Quite contrary. At age 17, Bill Withers joined the US Navy, where he served for 9 years. During his service, he developed a love for singing and said adios to the Navy in 1965 in favor of his music career, taking a leap of faith, moving to Los Angeles in 1967. Old ass Hollywood baby. He released a body of work titled 3 Nights and a Morning that same year, but it didn't gain much traction. So he did what most would do. He got a job as a mechanic, used his earnings to help fund his dream, and played at nightclubs. After years of working his day job and sending demos to labels funded by his own money, in 1971, he gained a hit with the track Ain't No Sunshine at age 32, but refused to leave his job as a mechanic for a while because he knew the industry wasn't shit, okay? So he made sure he got that check before he left, and with his newfound fame, he was considered an overnight success. If you're wondering what happened to him, well, he released a slew of albums throughout his career before retiring in the 80s, as he was just tired of touring and fell out of love with the controlling business. While he did pass due to heart complications in 2020, which is very sad, Bill Withers was loved by many and was seen as this extremely humble, down-to-earth guy who garnered fame at 32 and stayed true to who he was.
A lot of times I would go in and somebody would say to me, you're too old to be just beginning. I was like 32 years old at the time. And that made it even more interesting, So then I got very, very disgusted with the whole thing, but I didn't quit.
The phenomenon of grinding for years before getting a breakthrough is just not new. This happened with Nicki Minaj, who was grinding since the early 2000s, releasing 3 mixtapes, growing her audience by promoting her music on MySpace, performing in New York and New Jersey, releasing features on already popular songs before finally releasing her debut studio album Pink Friday in 2010. When most of us were introduced to Sia with her album 1000 Forms of Fear in 2014, thinking that was her debut, she had already released 5 albums and was planning to retire after, but owed her label 1 more album. What we witnessed was just her breakthrough. Now, I want to highlight a few artists who are getting exposure, and to stay on theme for this video, they too have been here for a while now. So if they do end up, becoming more successful and start getting that push, just know they didn't come out of nowhere. The first artist I want to highlight is Raven Lenae, who's getting attention with her song Love Me Not, which went viral on TikTok last year, which recently impacted the Billboard Hot 100, debuting at number 81, becoming her first entry on the chart after pursuing music for 10 years now. And she's already has like 2 albums out. I think she also has an EP out. Raven's sound is inspired by indie rock and R&B. So if you like Steve Lacy, Solange, or Fushi, you'll appreciate Raven's music. Oh, and she recently performed at Coachella. The Marias is an American indie pop group that's been releasing music since 2016, who are currently experiencing a spike in their popularity with their sad yacht pop serene single No One Notice, which was released on May 2024. And courtesy of TikTok and Billie Eilish, who featured the song on her Instagram, the track keeps getting bigger. Currently it's at number 36 on the Hot 100, where it peaked at number 22. Also, they have songs in English and Spanish. There's also Leon Thompson, aka Andre from Victorious. He's also going viral with his song Mutt, released back in August of last year. After releasing a remix that features Chris Brown, the track spiked in its popularity, currently peaking at number 21 in the US. And the last artist I want to mention is Vietnamese-American R&B singer Sailor, who stands out with her black grills and tongue-in-cheek lyrics. Saying you came out of nowhere to imply that something is wrong with an artist's breakthrough is no different from saying, look at me, I'm alluding to suspicion for suspicion's sake. All this says is that you weren't aware or you lacked prior knowledge of an artist before said artist's breakthrough, which makes sense. And with the current focus on authenticity, it's making everyone on the net more suspicious, which makes artist discovery no fun. Can you imagine if, say, we had social media in the 80s and 90s, maybe some of these artists back then would quit music, and the audience did not care about who came out of where. They just enjoyed the music. Authenticity and all of this bullshit about artists being real is not real. Authenticity doesn't exist. Authenticity in this situation only means that you like an artist at the moment because they share your sentiments on certain matters, or you like their aesthetic or their voice. In this sense that most people refer to, authenticity is me flailing in my sleep and experiencing sleep paralysis thinking that a demon is trying to swallow me whole. Like, I didn't plan that shit. Saying you came out of nowhere is also the same as saying, look at me, I can peel my penis. Like, so do I. What do you think? Now, the pop culture question for this video comes from Kate M. She says, do you think that the next 5 to 10 years we will be seeing all these Nepo babies busting their asses for a spot on Billboard? Now, honestly, when it comes to Nepo babies, people do not like Nepo babies, so I'm not sure if a lot of them will try to pursue music, or I'm sure most will try to pursue music, but will they be taken seriously is the real question, and that I don't know. Nepo babies are just not liked, but I'm sure we will see them, fighting over the Billboard charts just like their parents did. Now, if you want me to read your pop culture question, all you have to do is leave a comment under any video and just say pop culture question. Please make it short and sweet like Sabrina Carpenter. As always, I'm Don, your pop culture boy, and I will see you in the next one.